All right, diving into Boston this time. You've sent over a ton of great articles. Looks like you're planning a pretty amazing trip.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it.
Let's make sure you get the absolute most out of your time in Boston.
Yeah.
All those iconic historical spots, and maybe even a few hidden gems.
Absolutely. From what I'm seeing here, it seems like you're into a little bit of everything. History, culture, food, and we can definitely cover all of that. Of course, we'll hit all the must-see spots, but we'll also dig a little deeper into some of those lesser-known places.
Love it.
Like you've got the Freedom Trail on your left.
Oh yeah, it's a classic.
It's a great starting point
For sure.
for understanding Boston's revolutionary history, but we'll go beyond just like a simple list of the stops.
Right.
We'll try to uncover those stories that really bring it to life.
Perfect. All right, so let's start with the Freedom Trail, the classic 2.5-mile walk through the heart of Boston,
Yep.
connecting 16 historical sites. And it looks like from these articles you're interested in the Old North Church
Yeah, definitely.
and the Paul Revere House.
Great choices. Those are two of the most iconic spots on the Freedom Trail.
Oh, yeah.
And the Old North Church, with its steeple, that's where the famous 1 if by land, 2 if by sea lanterns were hung
Ah, yes.
to warn about the British.
Right.
It's just a really powerful symbol of the communication and courage that made the revolution happen.
For sure. And speaking of Paul Revere, his house is the oldest remaining structure in downtown Boston,
Wow.
dating back to 1680. You can actually walk through the rooms where he lived and worked. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But what really caught my eye in one of these articles is that Paul Revere wasn't just a silversmith and a writer. He was also a dentist.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, apparently he made dentures from walrus ivory.
That's pretty fascinating.
I know, right?
It really highlights the fact that these historical figures weren't just like names in a textbook.
Right.
They were real people,
Yeah.
with diverse skills and interests. And speaking of connecting with the past, the Freedom Trail itself is more than just a tourist attraction.
Right.
It's a physical reminder of how close all these events were.
Yeah.
They literally unfolded within footsteps of each other.
I love that. The Freedom Trail actually leads right to your next stop, the Boston Tea Party Ships and Museum.
Oh, nice.
You mentioned in your notes you were excited about the live reenactments.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see why. They have replica ships that you can board and participate in the destruction of the tea.
Sounds fun.
Right. Talk about immersive history.
But it's important to remember that the Boston Tea Party wasn't just a rebellious act.
Right.
Your sources mention the taxes, but one article goes deeper into the real anger behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The Tea Act of 1773, while it seemed like a minor tax on tea, actually gave a monopoly to the East India Company,
Oh, I see.
which really undercut local merchants and raised a lot of concerns about unfair trade practices.
So it wasn't just about the tea. It was about economic control and the colonists' right to self-governance. It's amazing how this act of defiance in Boston Harbor led to the American Revolution. It's a great example of how a seemingly small local event can have global consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes exploring Boston so fascinating. You can actually trace those threads through the city.
Yeah.
See how everything's connected. Now, while we're on the topic of the past and the present,
Okay.
let's move on to Beacon Hill, a neighborhood that I think perfectly encapsulates Boston's evolution.
Yeah, Beacon Hill. It's known for its cobblestone streets and federal-style architecture.
Beautiful.
I'm seeing a lot of mentions about Acorn Street, which is also called the most photographed street in America.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, its narrow width and gas lamps just make it super picturesque,
I bet.
transporting you right back to the 19th century.
I know.
Just picture it.
I know. But Beacon Hill is more than just a pretty facade. It's also home to the Museum of African American History,
Right.
which you've marked as a must-see, and that adds a really important layer to understanding the city.
From what I'm reading, this museum doesn't shy away from difficult topics like slavery and segregation.
Yeah.
It explores the struggles and triumphs of African Americans in Boston. It offers a much more complete picture of the city's history.
And this is where Beacon Hill becomes so interesting. You could be walking along those beautiful streets,
Yeah.
admiring the architecture, and then
Yeah.
you come face to face with this museum.
Right.
That really challenges your perspective and deepens your understanding of the city's past. It's a reminder that even the most charming places have layers of history waiting to be uncovered.
Love that. All right, I'm ready for a change of pace.
Okay.
Let's talk about food. Boston's culinary scene. It's so diverse, from classic seafood shacks to trendy food halls.
It is.
A few places in your sources are really grabbing my attention.
Let's hear them.
Well, first of all, you can't talk about Boston without seafood.
Oh, of course not.
And one spot that keeps popping up is Quincy Market. It's this historic landmark, a hub for food and commerce since the 19th century.
Wow.
Seems like it offers a taste of everything Boston.
It sounds amazing.
I'm seeing clam chowder, lobster rolls, Boston cream pie, all within a few steps.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a foodie paradise.
It is.
But I'm also really intrigued by this other spot, High Street Place.
Okay, what's that about?
It seems newer. Like, what makes it stand out?
Well, High Street Place is a more modern kind of food hall.
Okay.
It's got like 20 vendors. They offer everything from gourmet grilled cheese to Vietnamese street food.
Oh, wow.
It shows how Boston's culinary scene is always evolving,
I love that.
embracing new flavors and influences.
Yeah, one article even mentions it has a rooftop beer garden with fantastic city views.
Oh, nice.
You can grab a local craft brew and enjoy the skyline, all while savoring all these diverse foods.
What a combination.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like you're getting a good feel for Boston's foodie scene. But, I mean, we've barely scratched the surface.
Right, there's so much more to discover. But for now, let's switch gears, delve into the world of art and culture.
I like it.
You highlighted a couple of museums.
Yes, the Museum of Fine Arts and the Institute of Contemporary Art, they seem like such fantastic representations of Boston's art scene. The
Absolutely.
Museum of Fine Arts, with its collection spanning centuries and continents, it just sounds awe-inspiring. One article even mentions that it has a Japanese garden.
Oh, wow.
It's like a tranquil oasis right in the middle of the city. I can already feel the Zen vibes.
The MFA is definitely a must-see for anyone who loves art.
Yeah.
But what's cool about it is that it goes beyond just displaying these masterpieces. It's also really focused on education and community engagement.
I see.
They have programs and workshops, and it makes art accessible to everybody.
I love that. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have the Institute of Contemporary Art, which, from what I'm seeing in these articles, is known for pushing boundaries, showcasing cutting-edge works. One article highlights their commitment to really fostering dialogue about contemporary art and how it relates to our world.
The ICA is a great place to experience art that's really thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And it's right on the waterfront
Oh, cool.
with amazing views of the harbor.
Oh.
So you can get thought-provoking art and breathtaking scenery.
All in one place. I
Yeah.
love that combination of, like, intellectual stimulation and visual beauty.
Yeah.
It's a perfect reflection of Boston's ability to blend history, culture, and modern innovation. Now, I'm also seeing some mentions of a potential day trip to Salem. I'm sensing a spooky adventure on the horizon.
Oh, yeah. A day trip to Salem is a fantastic way to see a different side of Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's just a quick train ride from Boston.
Easy.
And it offers this unique blend of history, mystery, and that coastal charm.
So, of course, Salem is famous for its witch trials. A dark, fascinating chapter in American history. You've marked the Salem Witch Museum and the Witch House as must-sees for sure. But I'm also seeing mentions of a great culinary scene and a really charming downtown area with shops and restaurants.
Yeah, what's interesting about Salem is how it's embraced its history, but it's also evolved into this thriving cultural destination.
Right. You can delve into the past and still really enjoy the present.
Absolutely. And speaking of delving into the past, let's shift our focus back to Boston
Okay.
and explore a place that's truly steeped in history and tradition, Fenway Park.
Fenway Park, it's more than just a baseball stadium.
It is.
It's a cultural icon. And even if you're not a diehard baseball fan, experiencing that unique atmosphere is a must when in Boston.
For sure.
One of your articles mentions that Fenway is the oldest ballpark in Major League Baseball, dating back to 1912.
Wow.
It's seen countless legendary players' historic moments.
I bet.
And its quirky features, like the green monster, the pesky pole, they're just instantly recognizable.
What's amazing is how Fenway has managed to keep its old school charm
Right.
while still getting renovated over the years. It shows the city's ability to honor its past,
Yeah,
but also embrace the future.
I love that. Speaking of embracing the future, let's move on to a neighborhood that embodies Boston's evolving identity. The South End. Okay, the South End. Described in your sources as this vibrant, eclectic neighborhood
Yeah.
with a mix of Victorian architecture, trendy boutiques, and a thriving arts scene.
It's got a little bit of everything.
I'm really intrigued by the SOA Open Market.
Oh, cool. What's that?
Seems like a great spot to find art, crafts, and local produce.
The SOA Open Market is a great example of the South End's creative energy.
Yeah,
It's where you can discover local artists, try great food, and soak up the neighborhood's vibe.
perfect. And speaking of unique vibes, the South End is also known for its diverse food scene.
It is.
Everything from cozy cafes to upscale restaurants.
Sounds amazing.
From what I'm seeing, the South End is like this melting pot of cultures and influences. Yeah, it is.
Reflecting Boston's changing demographic and food scene. It's a great place to experience the city's energy and get a taste of its diversity.
The South End is like a microcosm of Boston itself. History, innovation, cultural diversity.
I love it.
It's always evolving, but still keeps its unique character.
Yeah.
So with that, we've covered a lot of ground
We have.
in this first part of your Boston deep dive.
It feels like we've explored historical landmarks, delved into the city's food scene, and started to uncover some of those hidden gems.
We have, and we've only just begun. But I think this gives you a good foundation
Yeah,
for your exploration.
absolutely.
You're armed with the stories, those insider tips, and a deeper understanding of what makes Boston so special.
It's complex. It's always evolving. We've only scratched the surface of what Boston has to offer,
We have.
but I think we've given you a great starting point.
For sure. And we're excited to continue this deep dive with you.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
In the next part of this episode,
Yeah.
we'll go even deeper.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Into all things Boston.
Awesome.
Okay, so we've been talking about all these great places to visit,
Yeah.
but we should probably figure out how you're going to actually get around.
Right. Logistics.
Especially in a bustling city like Boston.
Exactly. One of these articles suggests using the T,
Ah,
Boston's subway system.
the T.
Yeah, it seems pretty extensive. I'm all about efficiency when traveling.
Yeah, the T is definitely a good way to go.
Okay.
Especially for those longer distances, it connects most of the major attractions.
Perfect.
It's relatively affordable, and make sure you get yourself a Charlie card.
A Charlie card.
It's a reloadable fare card.
Okay.
You can use it on all the public transportation.
Got it. Charlie card. Check. But you know me, I love exploring a city on foot.
Oh, for sure.
Is Boston walkable?
Very walkable, especially the historic downtown area.
Perfect.
In fact, one of your sources actually suggests a walk along the Charles River Esplanade.
Ooh, tell me more.
It's a gorgeous park.
Okay.
It stretches for miles along the riverbank.
Wow.
You get fantastic views of the city skyline.
I love a good waterfront walk.
It's a nice way to kind of escape that urban hustle for a bit.
Yeah, and get a different perspective of the city.
And of course, you get to see all those locals doing their thing.
The best. Speaking of experiencing Boston like a local, you mentioned wanting to go beyond those typical tourist spots.
Yeah, absolutely. Each neighborhood has its own personality, you know?
Yeah.
Hidden gems. Have any caught your eye?
The North End, Boston's Little Italy,
Oh, yeah.
definitely stands out.
I mean, who doesn't love fresh pasta?
And pastries? Come on.
And those little cafes.
I'm sold.
Right. Plus, it's one of the oldest neighborhoods in Boston.
I love that.
It's like a culinary and historical treasure trove. You've got these little narrow streets
Yeah, I can picture it.
with all those family-owned restaurants.
I bet.
And that aroma of fresh bread just fills the air.
I'm already there.
It's like stepping into a different world.
I can't wait. I also have a soft spot for museums,
Oh, of course.
especially ones that are a little off the beaten path. One article mentions the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum.
The Gardner Museum.
Have you been?
It's amazing.
I'll tell me everything.
It's housed in this beautiful Venetian-style palace,
Wow.
and it has this eclectic collection.
Okay.
Art and artifacts, everything from Renaissance masterpieces to ancient tapestries.
Wow.
But what really makes it special is its history and the atmosphere.
Yeah, one of these articles describes Isabella Stewart Gardner as a bit eccentric,
Oh, yeah.
with a passion for travel, art, creating these unforgettable experiences.
She really curated every detail,
Wow.
arranged everything according to her own vision.
It sounds like her personality is just infused in every corner of this museum.
It is. It's a very unique and personal museum.
I love that. Speaking of immersive experiences, one thing we haven't talked about is Boston's literary heritage.
Oh, right.
Huh.
I mean, this city is steeped in literary history.
Yeah. One of these articles suggests visiting the Boston Public Library.
Ah, yes. A palace for the people, they call it.
It really is.
Stunning architecture, incredible collection of books, and a peaceful courtyard.
Perfect for a quiet moment.
It is. It's a beautiful building.
I bet.
You can browse those endless stacks, admire the artwork, or just relax and imagine all the stories that have been written within those walls.
Sounds perfect. I
Yeah.
love the idea of escaping the city's hustle and bustle,
Yeah,
getting lost in the world of books.
absolutely. And speaking of getting lost, what about Boston's intellectual side?
Ah, yes. Boston has this reputation for being a hub of intellectual curiosity.
It does, and for good reason.
Right. It's home to some of the world's best universities,
Leading research institutions.
cultural centers.
Thinking back to all those historical figures connected to Boston.
Yeah.
They were intellectuals, inventors, thinkers.
Yeah. It seems like that spirit of inquiry and innovation is just part of the city's DNA.
And that spirit is still alive today. Boston's always pushing boundaries, exploring new ideas, challenging the status quo.
It's inspiring.
It is. It's a city where you can have those thought-provoking conversations, attend lectures, debates, really experience the cutting edge.
So it's not just about seeing the historical landmarks. It's about feeling that energy, that spirit of innovation.
Exactly. Speaking of inspiration, what are you particularly drawn to in Boston's history or culture? Anything you're hoping to learn more about?
Well, I'm fascinated by the Revolutionary War era
Of course.
and Boston's role in the birth of America.
It was crucial.
But I'm also intrigued by the city's literary heritage and its contributions to the abolitionist movement.
Those are great areas to explore, and Boston has so many resources.
Oh, good.
For those who are curious, you'll find museums, historical societies, libraries.
Perfect. It's great to know there's so many ways to delve deeper into these topics. I'm also hoping to chat with some locals,
Oh, I love that.
get their perspectives on the city.
Bostonians are proud of their city, and they're usually happy to share what they know.
That's what I'm hoping for. You might stumble upon hidden gems or stories.
Exactly. Things you wouldn't find in a guidebook.
I love that.
Remember, travel is not just about seeing the sights.
Right.
It's about those connections.
Absolutely.
Experiencing a place through the eyes of the people who live there.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of connecting, what about souvenirs?
Oh, souvenirs.
I mean, not just typical trinkets,
Right.
but something that really captures a memory.
The best souvenirs always have a story.
That's true.
It could be a piece of art, a vintage book,
Okay, yeah.
even a jar of local jam from a market.
I love those markets.
It's a reminder of your journey, something you can share.
That's a great way to think about it.
And of course, you're supporting local artisans.
Exactly, finding those authentic connections.
Okay, let's wrap up this part of our dive with some practical stuff.
Okay, good idea.
What are you wondering about in terms of planning?
Well, the best time to visit Boston.
Oh, good question.
I know it has very distinct seasons.
It does, but Boston's beautiful year-round.
Okay.
Each season has its own charm.
Yeah.
Spring is full of blooming flowers,
Yeah.
Summer is great for festivals, outdoor activities.
For sure.
Autumn is a spectacle of colorful leaves.
Beautiful.
And winter transforms the city into this winter wonderland.
So, no wrong answer, just different experiences.
Yeah.
I'm kind of leaning towards spring or fall.
They're both lovely. Have you considered the tourist season?
Oh, right. Peak seasons mean bigger crowds, higher prices.
Exactly.
I do prefer a more relaxed pace, so maybe I'll aim for the shoulder seasons,
Good strategy.
like early fall or spring.
Yeah, find that sweet spot between good weather and manageable crowds.
Exactly. What about accommodations?
Another important one.
Boston has a lot to choose from.
It does, those historic inns, modern hotels.
I'm leaning towards a bed and breakfast
Oh, charming.
or a boutique hotel.
Yeah, great way to experience the local flavor
It's exactly
in a walkable neighborhood.
close to the action.
Speaking of action, have you thought about what you want to get out of this trip? Like setting intentions, goals.
That's a great idea. I want to immerse myself in history, explore those diverse neighborhoods,
For sure.
and try all the delicious food.
Of course.
But I also want to leave some room for spontaneity.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance.
Right.
Having a framework, but also being open to those unexpected delights.
Speaking of delights, have you considered any special events or festivals?
Oh, good point.
I have started looking into that.
Okay.
I'm kind of thinking about a Red Sox game at Fenway,
Oh, that would be amazing. The energy there is electric.
even if you're not a diehard fan.
Even if you're not a baseball fan at all, it's a cultural experience.
Unique to Boston.
Absolutely. What about day trips?
Ooh, yes. Exploring beyond Boston.
Getting out of the city.
I've heard great things about Cape Cod.
Oh, Cape Cod is beautiful.
Picturesque beaches, those charming villages.
And that fresh seafood.
Oh, of course. And Salem, with its witchy history and coastal charm.
Both excellent choices.
They are, right?
Cape Cod is the quintessential New England experience.
Quaint towns, seafood shacks, that stunning coastline.
And Salem gives you that glimpse into history.
Yeah.
That darker side of American history.
But it also has a cool art scene and, of course, more delicious seafood. Oh, my gosh. So many options.
Right.
It's a good problem to have. So many potential adventures.
That's the beauty of travel, isn't it? Embracing the unknown,
Yeah.
exploring, making memories.
I'm feeling so inspired, ready to dive even deeper into this Boston adventure.
And we're here to guide you. So in this part, we've talked about the practical stuff, getting around, venturing beyond those tourist hotspots.
And we sparked your curiosity about Boston's intellectual and cultural side.
We did. You're feeling more confident about your trip.
Definitely. And more excited.
And remember, this is just a glimpse of what Boston has to offer.
Right.
In the final part, we'll give you those last few tips and insights that will make your trip even better.
Awesome.
To ensure you have the best possible experience.
Perfect.
Okay, ready for the final stretch?
Let's do it. We've covered so much about Boston already.
We have.
The history, the food, even a Red Sox game.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this Boston deep dive, I want to make sure you're like fully prepped for the experience.
Right.
What are some things that, you wish you knew before your first visit?
Oh, good question. Practical tips are always helpful.
Totally.
For starters, Boston weather, it can be a little unpredictable.
Oh, yeah, that's true of a lot of places.
Pack layers.
Oh, yes, okay.
You might need a sweater in the morning, t-shirt in the afternoon, raincoat by evening.
All in one day. What about walking shoes?
Oh, yeah, essential.
I always underestimate how much I'll be walking.
You'll be doing a lot of it, especially if you're hitting the Freedom Trail or those neighborhoods. And break those shoes in before you go.
Yeah, good point. Blisters are the worst souvenir.
They are.
Anything else that might surprise first-timers?
Something that might surprise people is that Boston, even with all its history, is a very modern city.
Oh, interesting.
So don't be afraid to go beyond those landmarks and explore the tech scene.
Okay.
Those innovative restaurants, contemporary art galleries.
Finding that balance of old and new.
Exactly.
What about cultural nuances? Anything visitors should be aware of?
Bostonians are generally friendly.
Okay, good.
But they can be a little reserved at first.
Oh, okay.
So don't be offended if they don't strike up a conversation right away.
Right.
But if you do engage,
yeah,
they're passionate about their city.
That's what I like to hear.
Happy to share.
Yeah.
What about tipping?
Ah, yes, tipping. I always want to make sure I'm doing it right.
It's customary in Boston, just like most of the U.S.
Okay.
15–20% for servers.
Good.
Bartenders, $1 to $2 a drink. Taxi drivers and hotel staff appreciate tips, too.
Right. It's a way to show appreciation.
Exactly.
Okay, what about the language?
The accent.
Yeah, any tips for understanding the locals?
Don't worry too much about it. Most people speak clearly.
Okay.
You'll get used to the slang pretty quickly.
And if I don't?
Just politely ask them to repeat themselves.
Easy enough?
They'll be happy to clarify.
I think I kind of like the idea of trying to pick up the local dialect.
It's all part of the experience.
Exactly. So we've talked practical tips, cultural nuances. What about mindset?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Any advice for someone who wants to really get the most out of their time in Boston?
Approach your trip with a sense of openness, curiosity.
I like that.
Don't be afraid to deviate from the plan.
Right.
If something catches your eye, allow yourself to wander, get lost a little, stumble upon something unexpected.
It's not about checking things off a list.
No.
It's about the experience.
Exactly.
And letting Boston surprise you.
And engage with the locals.
Yes.
Start a conversation, ask for recommendations.
Those conversations lead to the best stories.
They do. It's about making those connections.
So true. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Remember, the journey doesn't end when you leave Boston.
Oh, I like that.
The things you learn, the stories you hear, they become part of your own story.
Beautiful. So as you head off on your Boston adventure, remember, be present, be curious, be open to the unexpected, and most importantly, have fun.
Have fun. That's the most important part.
And with that, I think we've come to the end of your personalized deep dive into Boston.
We have.
You've got the historical context, the must-see attractions, practical tips.
Some food recommendations.
Of course, always important. We've explored the city's revolutionary past.
We've wandered through those neighborhoods.
Delved into the food scene and uncovered some hidden gems.
We did it all.
We hope this deep dive has inspired you to explore Boston.
With a sense of wonder.
Safe travels and enjoy every moment of your adventure.
And remember, Boston is a city that reveals itself in layers.
I love that.
So embrace the unexpected, follow your curiosity, and create memories that will last a lifetime.